You're Tara. I just
remember we had a phone call.
Just got off the phone with Tara. He's like,
did you get that?
Like, that's going to be the intro.
He's like, I think you've met your double. This might go on all day.
Yeah. But we'll be good.
Okay. But welcome to the Laura and Vinny show, Tara.
Thank you for having me.
And so you both know I turned your mics both down based on that conversation. Like, so I actually turned it down -2. Yeah. This is going to get out of hand.
It is going to get out of hand. Yes. Yeah. But you see, the problem is, so Tara's broken spoons.
Yeah.
Does the most, as I say, you can smell Tara's cake when you walk into the room before you even see it. I'm like, where is it? Yeah. Oh my God, where is it? Your cakes are amazing. But we've been talking to each other for how many years? Just online. But we've never, like, sometimes I might, like, be at a venue really early and I'll bump into the caker who's dropping something off. But it's never happened. So we've never actually got to meet in person. So the only reason you're here today is so we can meet.
Hello.
Hello, Tara.
I'll see you later.
Yeah.
Cheers for the cup of tea.
Thanks for the coffee.
And poor Linda, did you see that Linda brought cakes yesterday, and did she shame you into bringing cakes?
No, I was going to bring cakes. I was going to make them, but
I expect you to make cakes.
I was like, I've just so much to do, and then my small friend is sick as well so much. So I was just like, oh no, he's grand. But I was just like, oh my God, I just didn't have time, so I cheated.
Well, we weren't expecting you to bring cake. But like the fact that there's now a load of cake in my kitchen.
They're lovely. They're cakes I can never eat because I'm celiac, and they're ones that I really want to eat and I can't eat.
Is that hard though when you're like baking cakes, or are you at a point where you're like, I see cake so much that I'm not bothered by the cake, or do you see cake and you're like, I really wish I could have that, but I can't?
The first.
But
like I prefer things like crumbles and eclairs and stuff. Like I
outside of the cake.
Like white cakes are beautiful and everything like that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's just because you do them so much that you kind of want to do something a little.
But it's a bit like that with us when people say to us, like, we'd go on holidays with, say, family or friends or something, and did you not bring your cameras? And I'm like, no, I didn't bring my cameras.
You have to make that
I have a few days off. Yes, I will take photographs, but no, I didn't bring the suitcase.
You're going somewhere epic and you do kind of have to make that choice, like which one is, am I bringing a camera, am I just relying on the phone? And it's kind of, but when you bring a camera, when you're on, you're on.
Yeah, because I know if it was, especially with him, I know if the gear was there, he literally wouldn't talk to me for the holiday. He'd just be off doing something. And there is some moments you're like, oh, wouldn't it be great if we had the gear with us? But it's like, but no, be in the moment.
It's your, you have to be like, because I mean, I remember the first time I went on holidays.
Yes.
And I was like, I'll just go back to that email there now. And I just go back to the email.
Yes.
And
it's very hard to step off,
I can't.
The out of office has to go on.
So like now, the years go on, I'm like, no, I need time for my brain to...
But speaking of baking and kind of like having no time to do it, like I think people may not appreciate like the baking of a wedding cake. It's not just one day or half a day and then it's delivered tomorrow. Like there's so much preparation. The whole week of it takes up such time, doesn't it?
It's a huge amount of time. A huge amount of time.
Yeah.
And I think like it is definitely, the time aspect is underestimated hugely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like some cakes, like a fondant finish cake would take you 5 days.
Wow.
Buttercream cake takes you 3 days. Yeah, because you have to leave time between each stage so that everything sets properly.
Okay.
And so that when it travels, it's
solid, delivers.
You know, it's not even that. It's like, I think people just think of the baking of it, rather than you've like. I am always saying to people, if you ever watch The Great Pottery Throwdown, right?
Okay.
That's the way it's like with cakes. You have to like construct it to make sure that it doesn't crack or fall apart. And like my husband's like, oh, it's exactly like what you do.
Okay.
Really?
And so it's you have to think about every aspect of it. And then you also have all the time before, like as you know yourselves, you'd be on to people for like maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
So you've all the emails that go with that. Then you've the tasting, which takes a couple of days to actually prep for. You travel for the tasting. Like I travelled up to Terry Glass up in Tipperary Christmas week with the tasting box for my couple because they were over from the UK for Christmas, and that was it before their wedding.
Oh my goodness.
So that's like just over 2 hours from where I live, and then drive back down again.
Yeah,
and that doesn't include the actual getting the tasting ready.
You know,
Because you not just send it up with on post.
On post, yes, on post tonight. I have a lovely
At Christmas, it would have been grand.
At Christmas, basically from mid-November on, even November on, do not send anything in the post because it won't get there. So like that's why I like that's what you're getting as well, you know, with somebody.
Yeah.
So like you can just say to them, like I know you could turn around and say, yeah, no, I'll just post about it and that's it with you.
Yeah.
But you know, it's the extra attention that you.
But that's it. You're buying that service. I mean, people kind of like, again, like it's hard sometimes when people come in and they start researching stuff on weddings and they don't know a budget, whether it's for a photographer, for a venue, for any part of a wedding, and they're like, weddings are so expensive. But the wedding cake, it's like you're buying that quality of service in terms of the attention beforehand, the communication, the understanding of what people want, and then the tasting, the delivery, everything. It's that whole kind of aspect. That's the quality you're buying.
I don't know how you do it. But we're skipping right on to the end part.
Yeah. It is like there is an awful lot to consider, and even sugar flowers and things like that. Like, you know, I did a 5-tier in December with loads of sugar flowers on it.
I think that was the one I saw. I scrolled through the Instagram. It was epic, wasn't it? That kind of handmade.
Yeah, they're all
design.
handmade.
Wow.
So they take a few weeks to make. Like, so when people say to me, "Oh, I want something simple," and they send stuff with sugar work on it, you're like,
it might look small, but there's nothing simple about it.
It might look simple, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know, so I think people need to, and there are a lot of people that will like totally appreciate. You know,
the effort.
They're
and
like,
the time,
we completely understand. Or there are some people that will have a budget in mind.
Yeah.
Some of them can be fine and normal, and then others can be a bit crazy, like €150 for a 3-tier fondant finished cake.
Not happening.
You'd be lucky to get a birthday cake nowadays for €150.
So like it's kind of, you're kind of going, you know, people, as you say, when they start, they research and then they start to kind of
the realization
get to know what's actually involved and things like that.
But then we were chatting about this last night, kind of like to give the positive spin on that is like the wedding cake is, there's such history to having a wedding cake. It's so epic. Like there's so many people who put a photograph of their parents cutting their wedding cake. So like there's that tradition in it. Yeah. And then it is kind of like a centerpiece of a day, isn't it? And
it totally is.
People do really appreciate it.
And even like, I don't think I've ever done a wedding album where someone hasn't given me at least a picture of the cake or the cake cutting that goes into their printed album. So like it's like it's almost like you know, there's an aisle walk, there's a cake cutting. Like, but it is.
But it is
like unless somebody
moments.
has decided they're not doing a cake for some reason, which is very rare that you see it. Because they're not cake people or they're doing a really kind of alternative day or something. But it is as much of a focal point of a day than a ceremony would be, or you know, you'd see it like you almost expect to see the cake, and it's kind of and it's amazing though, because we do so many weddings, and I think I've seen, you know, every type of cake you could see. Like I've seen it all.
I'm pretty sure you have.
We haven't though, because you walk in and you're like, bloody hell, what's this? Would you look at this?
When you mentioned that one, I think again, scrolling through Instagram, there was like, it might have been like a Christmas Wonderland where it looked so intricate, kind of like where there was kind of, there was a little house on top, kind of as kind of the topper.
Oh, that was from years ago.
But then even the side,
still though.
but even the side of it, like the kind of the branches are the kind of, they were so intricate. Like,
there's a little light inside in the sugar church and all that, and the little sugar.
It was lit up. Oh my god!
Brilliant.
But I think like, so we've had quite a few weddings with you where we've had your cakes kind of thing. But one that sticks out in my mind, I'm going to mention it now because I'm afraid I'll forget, was Melissa and Brian down in Garryvoe, and they had a Harry Potter themed wedding. You obviously remember this as well. Yeah. This was not just a cake. This was like.
It was the parchment one.
It was.
I just loved it.
And it was like you had the little snitches, and you had the wands and
the owl.
Yeah.
And then the was it the Deathly Hallows emblem on a little chain and everything like that. Yeah, it was.
Because I remember them coming in to see it, and like the whole setup of it was just like, it was a little bit like, oh my god, like everyone kind of, usually when you come in everyone's chatting and they're like, look at the cake and we'll get the cake cutting, and you kind of chat. But I remember that day we walked in and it was like everybody kind of just stopped, and everybody was like literally looking like, because it was 360. It was like every angle you went to, you were like, oh, but look at that, oh, did you see that there? I was like, I'm here going, where did Tara get the time to put this together?
Harry Potter, I love Harry Potter, and they're so different to other cakes, and you can, you know, like, yes, it took an awful lot of time to do all the parchment work, the sugar work to make it look like parchment, and you know, you've got like your snitches made out of sugar, the wands, the map, the Marauders map was all made out of sugar and things like that as well. But like, it's I think because it's so different to what you normally do, you're like, yes, you're excited.
It does.
And, you know, it starts coming together and you're like,
you get creative. You're kind of like, I want to do a bit more, I want to do a bit more.
Is there a rough percentage between, say, someone who kind of gets like the standard clean wedding cake that maybe has a hint of kind of decoration on it, and then say the full out kind of I have a theme and I want to design. Is there kind of like a percentage fall between kind of that you see a lot?
Yeah, like the majority of people will tend to go, so I'd say like at least 90% of people will go like traditional, the traditional route. Or they'd go with the traditional route, maybe with a small little twist.
Exactly.
And then you will have people who'll go with something completely different. Like I'd won a cake for Bantry during, I think was it September.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great memory. Well done, Tara.
I think. And it was buttercream, but it was a teal marble buttercream look, which was difficult to do, but it was so cool. And then it had a sugar splash on top, and then there was silver. One of the sugar splashes then was covered in silver leaf. But that was different to do. Now, while sugar, like that kind of sugar work, is difficult.
Right.
It's just because it was so different. It's it's fun because it was so, even though it was difficult, but it was fun, if that makes sense.
But you don't mind the challenge. So if someone has an idea, or if they've seen something like epic online on one of these amazing American shows or something like that, and they're kind of like, I don't expect you to do that kind of thing, but could you do along those lines? Yeah. Like you don't fear that, you like the wee challenge.
No, it's like I suppose from my point of view, I always try and push people. So if they
get creative,
like if they send me something that's kind of normal, and traditional, but has a little, little bit of
what's your personal twist going to be?
Yeah. And like I always try and try and put something different together for people and try and make it different. And then there's also times then when you're the victim of your own success, because when you create a cake and then everyone loves it and then everyone wants to get it, and then you're trying to.
That's a very good way of putting it.
Like 3 of those this week.
You're like, can I do something different with the flowers? No, we want it exactly like this. And it's like, okay, and you try and just even use different colours, even using a different colour, but like and even colour itself. Like I am waiting forever for someone to ask me to do a black wedding cake.
I know you were going to say the word black. I don't know why. It's
I love
how amazing would that be?
It's so cool. Yeah, it's so cool. And even in the summertime, if you've got a black wedding cake with like vibrant flowers on it and a bit of gold, it's
something to contrast it. Yeah.
And like while you could have that with white. And it'll be nice. But if you have a black, it'll be like, oh my god, it's amazing. So it's just things like that, and just using, like, don't be afraid to be a little bit different. I know people will have pressures of traditions in the family and all that kind of stuff.
Because there's always a lot of voices in the background.
But it's just it's your wedding day, and if it's something that expresses ye. Then use the cake to do that,
I kind of want to get married now again just for the cake. If we do a vow renewal, will you do our cake?
Can
it be black, please?
It can, yes. Black, all day long.
Black. You mentioned colour. One that stood out again was, I think it was the bluebirds, like the lovebirds. I think you mentioned that you did it as part of your training. But again, that just jumped out as like, was it painted?
Yeah, that's hand painted. I did that myself. Like it was just something that
I love the way you're like, I just threw that together.
It's like as I was saying to you last night, like I was actually saying it to somebody else during the week, I haven't been able to create something of my own for years because I've been so busy. And they take time, and it's lovely to have the time to sit down and create it. Now it's probably my own fault. I should probably build it into my schedule or something. But when someone goes, oh, can I book that date? And you're like, yeah.
But in hindsight, we'd always love to be doing more for ourselves.
Exactly. You'd always be able to do it. But like that was when I started out. I got did a collection together, and that was one of them. And like the panels on that, those blue panels are fondant, and they're baked several times in the oven and distressed and everything. Like it's really cool.
They lean and look so natural. Like they're not just like flat up against the cake. Like there's carpet.
I'm kind of laughing at this. I think he did more research for this podcast because he's obsessed with cake. Like I cannot tell you, Dara, how like the sweet tooth on this man is.
Wait until we get on to flavours.
Like diabetes is like coming for him.
He's right.
He's grand. You don't know the level. You don't know the level. Like
I have a husband.
Walk into Krispy Kreme and be like a double dozen. And I'm like, but I don't eat them. He's like, yeah.
Is it tough to keep the family out? Do you bake from home?
I do. Yeah,
and is it tough to keep the family out when you're cooking?
Do you know what? Now they're so well trained now at this stage.
Okay, they know they can't just pick at.
The kids will come to the door and they'll be like, have you any cake? And you're like, no, go away.
Please, sir, can we have some more?
They're like stacking. Have you got any cake? It's like, no. It's like, but no, like they love when I'm doing tastings because I have there's leftovers, especially the biscuit cake.
Yeah.
They absolutely love that, but I use O'Connell's chocolate, so that's why they love that so much.
Nice.
But it's they're just
into it.
And then my husband is the taster as well, so he.
Okay.
Isn't it gas?
Sounds like a great household, to be honest.
Not in the height of the wedding season.
Well, yeah, when you're shouting out the door, go away.
It's like, wait, leave me alone. I need to get
I'm
this done.
busy.
Yeah.
But your devil for biscuit cake, isn't it gas or biscuit cake came on trend whenever it was in the last 5 or 10 years?
Yeah.
But it's like, it really, I suppose it was kind of like, rather than just being biscuit cake or a bit of chocolate and biscuit, like people have really gone kind of creative with it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, do you have your own twists, or do you kind of take people's kind of like, we like X, Y, Z, can you throw that into the biscuit cake?
Like I'm always saying to people, like, mint arrow inside the biscuit cake. It's really good.
I have tried that before, and it was amazing.
So good. It's like the Viscount biscuits. Remember the Viscount biscuits?
I still buy those.
I would be buying them too if I could eat them.
Laura has a thing for mint. So much so.
It's lovely. I love chocolate and mint, like.
But I got like for Christmas part of our stocking was kind of like from London, from like this like I won't mention them, but like some fancy place got the mint chocolates over, like, but like
dark chocolate with mint. Oh, like you can't like.
But
you can't beat
it.
It's the only time I eat dark chocolate with mint.
Okay, because it's worth it.
Yeah,
it's worth it.
It's totally worth it. Like
But there's mint, and then the other flavour that's kind of come on whether it's in cakes or not in cakes, is like salted caramel. It's just something that I see so much more, that different brands and stuff are like, they're doing versions of a salted caramel type thing, and it's just it's something that pops in your mouth or something. Like the mint, it probably just sticks out a little bit. That's
well, it's I mean, when you have to taste it, it's really difficult.
True, actually,
really difficult. And then with a bit of Tia Maria in it too, it's really difficult.
Oh yeah.
When you're 2 a.m. and you're like,
this is where the creativity comes from. It's tasting
the Tia Maria mixed with the salted caramel.
So people should try identify whether they can see a bit of Tia Maria action in your cake. So like, she was definitely on the Tia Maria that evening trying to get this finished.
That's what was wrong. But like Guinness is the other one as well that people love as well, and Bailey's chocolate is the other one that people love.
That's true, actually.
And I will say, like the caramelized white chocolate.
Okay.
That I do that for. So that's the chocolate you put. You need a really good quality white chocolate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, it's O'Connell's. And
write that down.
You have to put it in the oven for you roast it for about maybe a half an hour in batches of like 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then you keep working it until you get the colour that you kind of want, and it is so good.
My stomach's extra rump.
It's really good, and like that, you put that into the buttercream then to give the buttercream the look of the head of the Guinness, that kind of way.
Yeah.
So that you have your Guinness cake, and then you have that. That's so good.
This must be where the smell is coming from when I walk into the room, because it just sounds like the process to get these, these ingredients to actually work in the way you want them to work. Like it's there's so much to it. It's amazing.
Yeah, and champagne and strawberry is is a go-to, and lemon white chocolate and raspberry is another one that's really, really popular.
That's unreal.
And lemon curd, but I make my own lemon curd, so that's why the lemon curd is really good.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good.
If you do say so yourself.
If I do
I think you're allowed. I think you're totally allowed.
I really love the lemon curd.
Yeah.
Like my daughter comes in and she's like, when she knows I'm doing lemon curd, she's like, it's like, there's a little bit left in the bowl, and like she just takes the bowl and it's gone. Like.
Wow. She's dead right though.
And the raspberry coulis and all that kind of stuff. They just
Where did because you see, obviously you're passionate about your, but you seem like you're a bit like ourselves. You're ultra passionate. Like every time you're every ingredient you're talking about, you can tell there's an actual there's a passion behind it, and then you do this and you do this. But where did the passion come from? Where did it start?
I was always baking. Even when I was a kid, I was always baking. Like my mum baked, my nana baked.
Okay.
My nana was one of those people that would just be able to whip up a soda bread, big massive soda bread in 2 minutes. She didn't have a recipe, she'd no measurements, no nothing.
Yeah.
She'd be able to knead it with one hand. That
while talking and doing the
ironing. Like my mom used to do apple tarts and coffee cakes and all those kind of things. And I loved baking. Like it was just something I used to. I never did home ec in school or anything like that.
Yeah.
Instead I did honours chemistry for some reason.
I did home ec and I can't bake, so you know,
There you go.
You should have done honours chemistry. It would have been lovely.
I don't know
You
about
should have done
art was my no.
I didn't do art either.
Did
I probably
you
should have
not?
done art because I love drawing as
That's
well.
gas.
Yeah.
Because of the
You would have
design
done
that
well.
I've seen.
Yeah.
It's incredible,
It's weird. Like I mean, sure, I had that cake with the.
That's the
on my own
failure
design where
of the school system.
It
They
is.
didn't see
They
the
should have
creativity
gone,
in you.
why are
and
you
said,
doing chemistry?
No, out of there and into there.
This
Yeah.
is practice. I mean, you've clearly put in like hours and hours and hours, and if
Yeah.
someone's starting out and they just have a love for it, it's like it's the practice that really kind of gets you to that point.
Yeah, you need the time. Like I never had any training or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was just something that kind of started. I did my daughter's christening cake. That was the first time I did sugar work.
Okay.
I thought it was amazing.
Of course you did.
Looking back now, it wasn't. But
That's a
It
good
was-
thing. That means you've like progressed.
I was
Like
like,
if you don't progress, then
you know,
yeah.
If I was still back there,
Yeah, I do the same with photographs. I like at the time I was like, that's lovely, and then I look back and go, nothing wrong with it, but like, Jesus, it could have been better.
Could have been better.
You know?
Like, that could have been done
yeah.
better.
You're always progressing. Yeah,
and you're always kind of thinking like that, and it just kind of progressed from there. And then people started asking me to do cakes for them, and then as time went on, then I kind of thought about doing my own business then, and that's what it is. And I did the PME Knightsbridge course then up in Cork, in Brennan's in Cork, and that's it. And then 90%
kind of just polished off your practical experience with kind of like that was in decorating kind of ice
it was,
or
so you've a module for royal icing.
Yeah.
Royal icing, and people know this who do cake, royal icing is crazy hard.
Okay.
It's really difficult, and it is an art form in itself.
Is that kind of the more traditional icing?
It is the more traditional icing, but when you look at what can be done with it, like it's crazy.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It's like,
is it
like,
even icing anymore?
They can build it. It's like they can nearly build structures with it. It's insane. And then you've got like your fondant module, and then you have your sugar flour module, and then basically that was it. And then from I'd say 90% of what I do is self-taught and through trial and error and all that kind of stuff. Like you know.
But it sounds like it's in your blood.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are self-taught, and it kind of I think they stand out because it's kind of like sometimes nothing wrong with going to college and doing courses, and everyone has their different paths of getting somewhere. But I find when people are self-taught, it's kind of like there's no influence as to it has to be done this way. It has to look a certain way. You kind of put your own spin and creativity on it, and it screams, this is different, this is unique, this is talent, this is raw talent in a
smell
sense.
the cake.
I can smell the cake. Tara's here somewhere. Where is she?
Oh God! I'm like Santa
You do know
Claus.
she's just around the corner with a fan like going, must get a bit of marketing off
That's
Laura
what I do now.
Laura's in the background going,
And then you work from home, like just to give people reassurance as well. You probably have to go through all sorts of food safety kind of tests and certs and whatever. That's all covered off.
Like if you're doing it from home, you can't obviously use your home fridge. You
can't just crack on. And
just chuck the cake in there with the lasagna from last night. You can't do that.
Okay.
So you have to have a separate fridge. You have to have a sink, but you have to have 2 separate sinks. You have to have an area where you keep your food, all your supplies and things like that.
Yeah.
They all have to be encased in like airtight containers and all that kind of stuff. I keep nuts and all that kind of thing at the very bottom, kind of middle, second last shelf, because I have allergies and things like that. Obviously gluten-free stuff needs to be kept in a completely different cupboard.
Okay.
And you have to have your certs, like, so you'd have to have pest control in place. You have to have your like I have a little, those blue like kind of zappers.
oh yes, keep the flies away.
I was there when I was there kind of going, I have to have one of them. I was there thinking, that's going to look lovely in my kitchen. But you can actually get a
and
nice
I hate the
little neat
noise they make when the
well, thankfully mine would just make a noise. And you wouldn't even know it was a zapper.
Okay.
In Ireland, it's not going to get much use.
No, true,
Well, you think that.
Right.
Depends on the time of the year.
It has to be on pretty much all the time when you're working and things, and it's on all the time during the summer, even from late spring on. But like you have to have all of those things in place.
I never even thought of that.
Oh yeah, you do. Yeah. You have to have your HACCP certification. Like if you're doing, I do gluten-free cakes as well.
Okay.
So I had to send samples off to a lab to get tested to make sure that they were gluten-free, and then the letter came back from the HSE that saying yes, you know, these samples were gluten-free, so you're okay to kind of do that. And then obviously if your visits from the EHO and things like that.
That's actually a lot too, isn't it?
And then you have your temperature controls on your fridge.
Yeah.
Just to add to the few things you have to do in the
log
day.
everything you buy to make sure that you can keep track of
trace
everything. Yeah. So every single
Do you
thing.
sleep?
I try.
Yeah.
And
it's
like,
good to
it
get
doesn't
sleep.
work though.
No. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's you've got all that. So that's even like again, this is before you even go near you know.
This is all the stuff that goes behind the scenes that no one knows about.
Yeah, exactly.
But you have to have it done.
You have to have it done. You can't you can't really operate without having that done, because you have to be aware of the way you store things, the way you handle things, washing your hands, all that kind of stuff. Like people, there's a debate on whether, you can see it online sometimes with cake people, whether they need gloves or should they have their hands thing. I wear gloves when I'm stacking a cake. When I'm creating it, I can't wear gloves because I just find them dirtier.
Yeah.
Because you wash your hands way
there's
more.
Like antique guys, and they're kind of like basically saying, you know, you should have white gloves to touch something. But actually, the white gloves can actually absorb certain material, and kind of the historic documents can actually be damaged by the white gloves. So there's a balance between everything. Yeah.
It is, and like you'd handle certain things obviously with the gloves on, but like they can get, like you get grease on them, or they can be dirty. Whereas if you wash your hands, if you've no gloves on, you know, my hands, I've got a bit of butter from them. You can wash your hands straight away. And like I wash my hands so many times in a day. I can't have nail varnish on. You can't have false nails. I'm looking at your beautiful nails. We can't have false nails or anything like that. So
can you imagine it?
Like,
cutting the cake. What's that?
Look at the state of them. Look at the
They're not too bad now.
Oh, they're bad. Like they're bad. And like you get like, I mean, there's sometimes, especially during the winter, you get like your hands get cracked. You're washing them so much. So like it's like when I'm handling things that are going into the cake. That's when I have the gloves, when I'm stacking it, putting together all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's kind of a.
It's a bit of different parts. I understand that. Yeah. But for and I know that's so like that's everything that goes on behind the scenes.
Like chefs, if you think about it, chefs don't wear gloves when they're cooking. They just don't because they keep washing their hands. But there's always going to be arguments on both sides of everything, though, isn't there? And it's kind of like I think you from practice you kind of know yourself. This works better for me. 100%. This works better. And I'm completely paranoid. Like so. If I'm like, oh my god, I can't feel that. I'm like, oh, I can't feel that. No. So I just wash my hands. Like I'll wash my hands 1,000,000 times a day.
Yeah. It's like the super protected kid or clean kid. He's always sick.
That's true.
It's just the way it is. Dublin kids come down to Cork, and that's the end of it. Like it's just the way it is.
Always send them back.
When my family comes down to visit, like when they're young, it's like they're like, "What is the outside?"
For sure. But for the couple side of things, then, so like this is obviously like everything that goes on behind the scenes to get to that beautiful finished product. But for couples, like how far out do they book with you? Like when it comes to cakes,
some people book 2 years in advance. Like I have a couple of bookings for 2026 already. And 2025 is obviously starting to book up now as well. And then you'll have people that will come to you maybe like 6 months before the wedding. No, 98% of the time I don't have availability. So, but if you do have availability,
but you might get lucky. There's no harm trying.
You might get lucky. But I would say to people, like with yourselves, book as soon as you have your dates booked. Book all of the main things. So your photographers, your florist, your cake person, all those kind of things after your venue, obviously.
Or before.
But it's so easy. If you love something, you love something. But it's so easy, say, to forget about hair and makeup, cake. Like there's people are like, oh, get your venue, get your band, get your photographer type thing. But it's really across the board. If you're good, you're good, or if you're sought after, you're sought after type thing. And people will book 2 years out.
Like I definitely say, like if you're kind of, if you've been planning for a while or it's been an idea that you kind of go, and you've seen kind of people that you love, and you're like, oh, I love their work. And I love their work. Then, go to them straight away and don't wait, a year. And like there's some guides and things that tell you, oh, book such and such a thing at 6 months out or book such and such. And you're like, are you joking? Don't.
Tara, we're on the same page. I read some stuff online. We're like, has this person been to a wedding who wrote this blog?
Or they
understand
think the blog is or timelines are transferable from one country to another country, and it's just
in America when they have 6 month engagements. Yes, that is the case. But in Ireland, it can be some people have 3-year engagements. Some people have 6 month engagements, but the average is 18 to 2 years.
It is exactly and you're there, especially when you're. Yeah, when you read those, you're just going, oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Do they not know? No.
We could get together. We could do the Lauren Tower blog.
We could
Call them all out.
right. So this is your calendar day.
Do you want to hear the truth, people? Because this is where you're going to find
how it
it.
works.
Exactly.
And then for people as well, how do they decide on how much they cake and they need, like, in terms of like, there's obviously a bit of a budget thing going on, but as well, is there kind of a scale as to if they want to make sure they have enough cake or whatever? Is there kind of an approach that you can kind of say to people, that's enough, or that's not really going to do X, Y, or Z?
There is, like I would normally say to people, get an idea of, just approximate idea of guests, because obviously when you're 2 years out, you're not going to know exactly.
Yeah, but I think when you're booking your venue, you'd be like, I'm aiming for the 100.
Yeah.
I'm aiming for 300.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, or I'll invite everyone, or I'm going to be really strict. Yeah.
And like and then that way, then that starts the size of the cake. Okay. And what I normally say to people as well to get the most from their cake is if they have a day two, to not cut the entire cake on the wedding day. Don't do it.
Yeah.
It'll just go to waste. And if you have a day two, you can it's actually on day two where it'll be eaten properly and everyone will be able to enjoy it more.
While you mentioned that, so on the evening they like to put out a bit of cake. Is there kind of like, again, like how much? Because like I'm someone who, like, on the evening of wedding cake, I'm going for it, but I know a lot of people just won't come near sweet stuff. They won't, like, even at dinner they don't even eat their dessert. They walk away and I'm
they're too full. It's too much.
I wait for the dessert, like.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be more into dessert than the soup, like. But then some people will
be like,
oh
God, you had the soup. Okay, just get rid of that.
So for
the main course. Okay, we'll get to you know.
Is there kind of like again? Can you give people a tip as to kind of how much they should cut up at night, or?
Like I normally say to people, if they want to start with half of each tier,
right,
okay, and then leave it at that, and if they need more, then take it from maybe the bottom tier or something.
Yeah.
But I would say half, and then see the venue then can make the decision.
Because you don't want to waste it.
You don't want to waste it. Like, it has taken a lot of time, it has taken a lot of energy, it has cost them, a fair bit of money. Yeah. So to get the most out of it, use it for day two as well.
Okay.
And even, like what some people do is that they take, let's say, the other half that wasn't eaten, they'd cut it up and they'd bring it out to people, to like relatives that mightn't have been able to make it or something like that. Yeah. But it's definitely, like, you can get the most out of it. Like, cutting it all at once is bananas.
Yeah, it is. It's a waste.
Yeah.
So just cut like as much, like half.
A reasonable portion, half or less.
Yeah.
And give people a taste of it. And if you need to go back into it, you need to go back into it that evening. But like, you don't want to overcut.
Yeah. And if you're somebody who has like 200 people or something like that, or 180, then a standard 3-tier with a biscuit cake tier at the bottom is going to be absolutely fine for you. Yeah.
Okay.
If you're doing on sponges, then I would probably go like just have a little top 4th tier or something like that.
Right.
Okay. But like, just it's try and guide people like that, or people will have a massive idea in their head. Like, I want a 5-tier cake.
They're going all out,
only,
I want those TikTok videos where they roll it out on the table with sparklers.
No! Oh my God! I watched those and I'm like, no! Oh no! Or a guy who was carrying one across on a boat recently. I don't know what that was.
And
I was like, put it in a box. Oh my God! What are you doing walking on a boat in a lake with the? Oh my God! Like, it's just awful. But yeah, like, that's what I would say to people is just, and it also depends on the look you're going for, the feel of your day, the venue as well. Like, if you have a venue with, like, a lot of venues have huge, gigantic ceilings, and you want a single tier cake or something,
it's going
like
to
that,
be lost.
It's going to be lost. So if it's a case that your numbers only require a single tier, perfect, that's fine. It's absolutely fine. And then what I do then is I'll style the table, and it'll all be, that'll kind of make more of it as well. But it's just these things and where you put your cake.
Yeah.
So important.
Big time. No, Laura, I mean, you've kind of been in your bonnet sometimes about it, because like, it's like you say, it's a big banqueting room, and then they pick the fire exit.
Yeah.
I will never understand why the
cake
is in front of the fire exit.
Yeah.
Or there's a fire hydrant, like a fire extinguisher. There's one of them in this huge banqueting room, and they've put the cake in front of this. Yeah. Like, and you're kind of going, like, it's not even, forget about the photographs, you don't want it in the photographs.
I don't.
But everybody is going to come up and look at the cake, and you've just got these things behind them.
Fire hydrant.
Yeah, there's been days where you might want to hear this, but if the cake is like in a corner and the corner is just like, it's not acceptable as a backdrop, I'm just like, scoot it around and turn it and stand the couple so that the room is in the
behind
background
them.
because you're kind of going, that just doesn't work. Or there'd be days where, and I don't, it's like, maybe it wasn't a planned thing where say they want to display the cake in the middle of the room, so they'll put it on the dance floor is clear. So they'll put it in the middle of the dance floor, and it's a cool idea because everyone walking in, they'll be like, they can go over and they can look at the cake and take pictures of it. But then say the band has come in and dumped a load of gear
in behind
at the stage because they're getting, and from their side of things, they're getting ready for like, we're going to have a quick setup later on and we're going to get going early. So it makes sense. But then it's behind the cake. So again, I'm like, scoot, and the other way we're going to go. Everyone behind smile because you're in it.
Some creative like camera work. Like I have
the angles. I'll always be on the ground.
Look at the cake from up there. It's like, it's like, I'm always telling people, like, make sure, like, if I come into a room and the cake table isn't in the right spot,
will you move it?
I'll be like,
if you get a sense
it's going over there,
you
know, like that. Now I had a recent cake and the table was, I had the cake off, I basically got the cake table and I moved it to where I thought was best. Better light, better setting, better background for photos.
The aesthetics are great.
The aesthetics are great, beautiful, perfect, great. And they wanted it over the darkest corner of the room
just
where there was like bins or something behind.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
So there was some
sounds
weird
lovely.
thing, and
that 5 days you spent making the cake is lovely to put in front of the bin.
And I was like, no.
You did right to stand up for it though.
Because, and you know, because you're thinking, what I think about is photographs. I think about the impact it has when it comes into the room, or when people come into the room, and just in general, like if it's in the darkest corner of the room where no light is, where there are dead plants behind, you know.
But you also, if it's in a dark corner, you're not going to, like you could have spent, as you said, like it could be a 5-day cake and there could be the most amazing detail put into this cake. But if it's in a dark corner, people aren't going to actually, like they're not going to, they're going to see it, but they're not going to really see it. Or they're not going to get a real feel for the proper colours of the cake, if there's colour in the cake, because it's kind of got a weird light in it, or it's in a dark corner, or you know, there's a couple of purple uplights that are changing the white to purple or something like that. But and then I suppose like because we've had some fun days in the summer where, you know, the cake's been put in a really, really beautiful spot.
Oh, not in front of a window.
Oh, but like a conservatory.
Oh, God, no.
An oven, you'd like you know, like I have picked like parts of cake up because they've just slid off the side. But it's kind of, it is, and it might be like grand, because I suppose the traditional was you put the cake in the banqueting room. And that's where the cake is. And you cut the cake for the room, and this is the way things were done every single wedding. But things have changed so much over the years where the cake could be, you know, displayed in a lobby before you go into the banqueting room. It could be in the drinks reception. It could be anywhere. And a lot of times some of the drinks reception areas are in, you know, warmer areas. There wouldn't be because a lot of hotels in Ireland, we don't get good weather enough for the entire building to be aircon. Exactly. The banqueting room probably is. Most of them are, but the rest of the hotel it doesn't have aircon because we're just not that country for. Well, we weren't not yet, but I don't know where it's going. And it's kind of like, and I love the idea of the cake going in the drinks reception because I find that you've got that natural daylight, so you get the real true feel of the colours of the cake. Everyone actually definitely sees it because they haven't drank through the 3-hour drinks reception and they're going into the banqueting room, which they just sit down and they have the crack with the people at the table and they may or may not see the cake. But it does, like putting it into, you know, as you said, like in front of a window or in a glass conservatory. And I'm talking about summertime, like if it's the winter and it's cold outside, it doesn't make a difference.
Like if I go into a venue and I know where it's going to be set up. I know where the cake's going to be set up. That's where it's always set up. Okay. And you know, if it's in the summertime and there are big massive windows behind and the sun, I know the direction of the sun. I will, and if there are curtains there, I'll pull the curtains. And I'll tell them don't open the curtains until
you need to.
They just come in before they come in. You know, because you just kind of have to, or else I pull the table. I pull the table out away from the
actual sun hitting it.
And I try and gauge where the light is going to be.
This was the honest chemistry. She was a science teacher.
That's
what it was. She comes in with a load of tools. I can tell where the sun rings are going to go.
I do come in with the kitchen sink though, to be fair. I'd say a lot of venues are going to be going, what is she bringing to my plate? bags, mom bags. I've got my orange bag, my bright orange bag, which is all my little tools and things like that. And
but that's experience, though. That's knowing that if I go somewhere and something needs to be fixed or done, I need to have all of this in the car, so that it's not a case of I'm going to the lobby in the venue going, you wouldn't happen to have. So that I can,
No, it's like I've been to weddings before, and like people are like, oh my God, we've forgotten this candle and that candle, and I reach into the bag and I'm like, I've got beige candles, I've got gold candles, I've got black candles, I've got cream candles.
I love it.
You know, it's just like
it's like Mary Poppins, but just
or Santa Claus. That like I really do like to be Santa Claus. I just want to get in. Set everything now, because the setup can take 2 hours at least.
Wow.
Okay. So it's
you want to that long?
But that's just me. It's probably just me because I'm so particular.
But you would be everything. As you said, like you be bringing candles and dressing tables and like it's not just a case of cake stand, cake.
It's not like
you're there.
You go.
Yeah, it's in. I dropped it off in one piece, took a picture to prove it. I'm leaving.
I got my letter signed. Great stuff. I'll see you later. No, it's like because I arrange all the flowers on my cakes as well if they're real flowers, because I don't want toxic things going into the cake. And all that kind of thing.
That's actually a very good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Oh my gosh, and there's so many things that are toxic that go on. Wow. Like when I see them on cakes, I'm like, oh my God.
As in the plant itself would be toxic to the food.
The plant itself would be toxic.
Wow. Okay.
And then the way they're put in, so I put them in a food safe way. They're in little plastic posy picks, which are closed. They're closed.
Oh, the little plastic. Oh, I've seen those. And there's like a little bit. And they sit it. Yeah, I've seen those. It's very good.
Yeah. The cake, rather than the plant going straight in. And then if there are like, because I arrived one day and there was hydrangeas. Hydrangeas are toxic.
Okay.
I didn't know there were hydrangeas. I just thought it was roses and things like that. And I was like,
because you're not a florist.
Okay. It's like, I'm not the florist, and he only told me about the roses, but no hydrangeas. Okay. So I had to use hydrangeas. So I had an acetate, a layer of acetate between the top of the cake and the hydrangea. And I had the hydrangea like taped up, the stem of it. And then I had the other one, I had a separate, a tiny little oasis, a separate oasis, so it doesn't go into the cake. Then there's a little bit of acetate between the flour and the cake, just in case. This is why it takes 2 hours to do a setup.
Oh my God. And I suppose you don't know, like every time you go in, as you said, everything from where the table is put to set up to the conditions it's been set up into, you've been thrown a flour that can't be put into a cake. Like it's endless.
And like even like during this was it September? Yeah, I had a wedding in September, and the drinks reception was in a completely different place to the actual wedding. Okay. Beautiful spot and everything like that, and they wanted it on the cake table was very high, but the cake was 5 tiers.
Wow.
So it was over 3 feet tall.
The cake itself?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like...
It's a child.
It's a small child.
I'm bringing my small child.
That's how big it's going to be. And, and it's just like, so, I had to say, it's not going to... It's like they're going to, like while they were a tall couple, they were still kind of going to have to be like that.
Yeah.
So we had to move everything, bring it up to another section. And then we had it on the table, and then we had to move again. And the cake was ferociously, like it had to be put together in parts, but like the bottom 2 tiers are were horrendously heavy. Myself and my husband were, no, I have a cake safe, which are those kind of cool things that you get in America. So there's like a rod going down through them so they don't move.
Okay.
But oh my God, the weight, and the two of us were like, it's a good thing I do core burners. But like core burner workouts, because I was like, oh my God, and you're just waiting for the table to be moved back into place, But it's all those kind of things that you have to.
You don't know what you're going to walk into. You really don't.
You don't.
Yeah, you don't.
And you just have to be and allow for time.
Okay.
As well, and then sometimes people come in early into the reception as well.
Get out.
Which isn't great, and you're kind of, I want to be like Santa Claus.
I'm
supposed to see me, But it's an awful lot that goes on.
That's amazing.
Because
we just go in and like I understand from looking at it that like this hasn't just been thrown together. Yeah. There's been a lot of like process to getting this to where it's for me to take a picture of it. Yeah. But like all of this, like I never would have thought, like I never would have dreamt that like there was even flowers that couldn't be put into cake. I never would have thought of any of that.
Yeah, there's like I do envy the cake people that just work solely with sugar flowers and not real flowers. But obviously they cost.
It's beautiful to have the real flowers.
They are, but I suppose with the beauty with sugar flowers is they'll last forever.
True.
And as well as that, you can make it doesn't matter what season it is. But at the same time, they cost a ton of money because they take so long to make. And they're like, each petal is done by hand. They're all wired separately. Then they're all taped up. Then they all have to be put together separately and tied up separately. And there's an awful lot of work in them, right? So there's a huge amount of work done in them. So, you know, I do understand why people want to go with fresh flowers then, because they're not, it's not that they're cheaper, but they're a better option in terms of cost.
But it is more cost effective, I suppose. You're not sitting there making the flower by hand. No, that's totally it.
But so like it is, and you just have to be aware of what you're putting on the cake. Like baby's breath is toxic.
Wow.
People get allergic reactions
all the time. All the time.
And like there's one florist that I know, and her hands come out in a rash with baby's breath because of the toxicity of it.
Wow.
And there's like the hydrangeas again are toxic, ferns are toxic, all those kind of things. They're all, and then I see ferns pressed in to.
I'm going to be going around now going,
oh my God,
Benny, look at that.
Take that off. Do you know? But like again, it all kind of. It's just I suppose I'm ultra paranoid.
But that's being aware of it and having a heightened level of kind of threshold.
You're on it, like, But you know, like you mentioned for like this cake that was 3 foot tall, like, I mean, that's crazy. Does it matter then, like, so obviously, as you said, like there's loads of weight to this cake and the stacking to this cake and this serious height and everything. It's a structure, it's a mini structure. Yeah. Like, does it, like, so I know obviously when you're doing your cake tasting with you before the wedding and you get to taste all the different flavours and pick out what you're having. But if you're deciding I'm going to go all out and I'm having like a 5-tier 3-4 foot cake, does it matter what the actual tiers are so that they can be stacked, like, or can you make anything work?
It would be like, the only thing I suppose that I would say is that if people want a biscuit cake, biscuit cake has to be a bottom tier.
Okay,
that's it.
That's
it.
Okay. But if it was all light.
If it was all...
You could do it,
If it was all sponge, you could still do it.
Okay.
Basically, you just have to make sure, as the cake person, as the cake designer, that you put the structures, the internal structures in place in the cake properly.
Okay.
You can't just cut the doughs willy-nilly and just hope for the best. They all have to be the same height.
You can't be leaning.
No.
You
know, and as cakes are stacked, they'll sit down slightly marginally. It's just to our eyes, we'll see it like.
Okay.
They'll just kind of sit down marginally, like minuscule. But you know, you'll
as they settle, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and then you have a central rod that goes down through them as well.
Okay.
A central dowel. Now, normally people would like. I use if it's all sponge, and it's a fondant finish cake, I'll be able to use the steel rod that goes down through the cake safe.
Okay.
Like you can literally turn the cake.
And it'll just stay.
I'll test it next time.
Yeah. I've never actually turned them upside down, but but it's like, it holds it in place.
Okay.
And you know, if you have a long journey, like, and everything like that, then you're safe. It keeps it in it. And even without the rod, like if I have a biscuit cake here, I can't put a rod down through that. It's not going to go through.
Okay.
So I have to make sure then that the cake is still in its little cake safe, but it's nice and safe.
Yeah.
But like you do have to make sure that the internal structures are correct.
Okay.
So if you have 1 or 2 dowels, that's not going to do it. You have to have a circuit. It's normally about 9 in each tier, and then obviously if it's a small little 4-inch tier or 6-inch tier, you have maybe 6 or 7. But like but that's just
only
me.
6 or 7.
That's just me, or you might have maybe 5.
Okay.
Depending on how big it is.
Yeah.
And the weight of it and things. You have to think about all the weight, because like a biscuit cake tier is probably about 10 kgs.
Yeah.
In its own weight. Yeah. Because you have about 2.5 kgs of chocolate in it. Then you have the same again in condensed milk. You have the same again in your filling. You have the unsalted butter that goes into it. Then you have your ganache outside, and then you have a fondant covering.
Yeah.
It's really
There's so much. There's so much.
Really heavy.
And I suppose for like, because like they're talking about the size of cakes and weight of cakes and setup and everything.
Yeah.
So for you, where do you cover that you can travel like to do the setups with these cakes? Is it?
I go nationwide.
You do nationwide.
Like I've been up to Cabra Castle.
Yeah.
Beautiful there.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
So I've driven up there, and it's no, like, once you have like just once you have everything in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I pack up the car like the cake is a baby. You know, I've got like cushions and I've got packing in around, like around the cake safe.
Yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous. Like I have my little barrier in front and all. Anyway, but like it's like, you know,
peace of mind.
People must think I'm insane. I actually do think I actually do think.
But it gets there in one piece and it looks
there.
lovely. So that's the main thing. That's the main thing.
It is in one piece, you know, and then I have my little trolley, so I'll bring it in.
Okay.
That's always a very hard, difficult moment when you're taking it down off the car and putting it on the trolley.
my gosh.
When I don't have my husband with me, which is
Yeah.
like I'm about 98% of the time I'd be on my own.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah.
He's not going to drive to Cabra with you, like.
No, my sister did that. She came out.
Oh, that was nice for the day out. Yeah, have lunch on the way home.
Lunch.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you do have to think of an awful lot.
Okay.
Like, and then your dreams that you have, you know, with your.
Oh, listen.
You know, you've a cake.
I have the weirdest dreams and nightmares about weddings. Like, he laughs at me so much. I'm like, I don't even know why I'm dreaming about this. I can just get it stuck in my head, and I'm like, why am I thinking? Why? I don't know. Anyway, we're living it too much. But for the tasting side of things, then how does that work? So, like, obviously, say the couple have booked you.
Yeah.
They've kind of given you an idea of like the numbers and the size of cake and everything. But like, how does it work then with the tasting? Do you have to book that in, or?
Yeah. So for the tastings, because the schedule books up so quickly with weddings, January and February are kind of the tasting months.
Yeah.
So I'd send out dates the end of November, beginning of December, and everyone then books in their dates. My samples are made to order, so I don't like make a selection of 6
batch,
and
like,
then go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eat them.
Yeah.
So people get to choose what they actually want to have from the cake menu.
Okay.
So
you give them a menu, is it? And then they pick out from the menu what they think they're going to want.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have it's normally up to 3 flavors. Sometimes it could be 4. But it's basically what they actually really want to taste.
And are there 1 or 2 kind of flavours that are just always selected?
Oh my god. Like lemon white chocolate and raspberry, biscuit cake, champagne and strawberry, lemon curd to some extent is waning a little bit.
Okay.
The Guinness chocolate, Bailey's is after coming up big time now. Bailey's chocolate, that's because it's really, really good. Really good.
Because
like,
I slip one into every box
but
and be like, taste that.
It's a little basic of Bailey's as well, you know, before, so it's really good. But yeah, they would be the kind of the main ones. I'm probably forgetting something else now. Rose and pistachio, I love elderflower and lemon in the summer is really popular as well.
Yeah.
That
sounds very refreshing almost.
Elderflower is so good. And there's natural yogurt in the sponge, so it's really good.
And when you mentioned the nuts, and I was trying to bring it into the poison of the flowers, but if someone is like high on the allergy scale, like is there options for that, or is there kind of solutions that you've helped people come up with in terms of like, so that whatever their allergies are, or they're just hyperallergy or kind of really sensitive, what's the crack there?
Celiac, I get an awful lot of celiacs.
Okay.
So what I say,
but then you being a celiac,
so I know, you know, how to work so that there's no cross contamination and all that kind of stuff. And I suppose my kitchen would be pretty much celiac anyway, because you know, we just work that way at home. But like, it's basically you kind of work. So it depends on the severity of their allergy. So if people are like, you know, I can. So if they want a tiered cake and they want the top tier to be gluten free, then you have to make sure. Look, are you going to be okay with the top tier being gluten free, and it being stacked on?
It's touching the other tiers. Yeah.
And they're probably like me. If it's not actually in the cake, they're fine.
Okay.
Then you have people who will react if a cake is cut and there's flour in the air or something like that. So it all depends on the severity of it. Nut allergies, I can't actually help with nut allergies. There's so very little options for people with nut allergies. Now there are people who have certain allergies to certain nuts. So
that they're more allergic to nuts, some nuts and other nuts.
Peanuts, but they'll be able to eat every other thing.
Yeah.
Or Brazil nuts, but they'll be able to eat hazelnuts, no problem. Or else there you'll have people that will. I had a bride last year, and she was completely allergic to pretty much every nut. So again, I warned her. I said my kitchen is not a nut-free environment.
Yeah.
And she was saying once they're just not in it.
Okay.
Again.
But if there's traces,
if there's traces
from the air, she's okay.
Like when we did the tasting, I was just like, "Are you okay? Are you still okay?"
EpiPen in hand. Are you okay?
I actually said to her, I said, "Have you got your EpiPen?" And she's like, "No, it's okay. I'm fine. I'm fine." Unless she actually physically ingests them.
Okay.
But again, it depends. So if there's, let's say, a cake with nuts in it, Like I had one couple who forgot to tell me that the groom had a nut allergy and
forgot.
Yeah, people just kind of
I suppose in the moment
forget,
you're like they're just like, oh, it's going to be
like,
this colour and it's going to be this big.
We haven't picked nuts as a part of our cake.
Yeah.
They just presume, sure, there wouldn't be.
Yeah, it's like toffee apple is on it, like, but
Yeah.
there's hazelnuts in the toffee apple.
Okay.
So and like when I sent on the Flavours to them because they were up the country, I had contains hazelnuts and contains nuts. So you have to label all the boxes to make sure that the allergens are on it and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And that's thankfully
he actually read the box.
They read.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and she was like, thank God you had the stickers on it, you know. But like people just tend to forget.
But you're so busy and you're doing so many things that these things are you don't mean not to tell the person, or you think you taught them or told them and you didn't.
Like,
Yeah.
But so it's you have to think about it. I've had a few vegan requests as well. I did them before, but I don't do them anymore purely because the cost of the ingredients is through the roof for people.
Okay.
And as well as that, you can't get the structure in the cake, you can't get the finish on the cake.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're very temperamental, so
okay.
like if you kind of want a rusticy look, they're absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But if you want something like a fondant finished cake,
Would someone like that, would they get a cake, say, for the guests? Because the guests is this more a couple that like they're having a vegan wedding and they want everything to be vegan, that you could make them a vegan cake that's not on display that they can eat?
That's what I normally
that's
what I normally suggest to people. So I
Okay.
say, look, we can make like a little small vegan cake for you.
Yeah.
And decorate that with it, because some fondants, let's say for argument's sake, if it's a fondant cake, some fondants might be vegan friendly.
Okay.
So you kind of have to take that into consideration.
Okay.
Then you have to get a vegan friendly fondant. And all that kind of thing. Then you've got buttercreams, which are totally different. So the vegan buttercreams would be different.
Of course, different texture, I imagine. Yeah.
And they'd melt a lot quicker and all that kind of stuff.
So with the conservatory stuff.
No, even in a fridge, they still don't set properly. So there's an awful lot to kind of think about. But you always try and say, look, I can do that for you separately, but I wouldn't put it stacked as a tier on the main cake, or do cupcakes, vegan cupcakes or something like that for people who they might have only one or two vegans or something. But
I've seen that actually. I've seen like the cake, and then I've seen the little display, and it just has a tiny little sign next to it saying, like gluten-free or vegan, or I have seen that, and it's actually, but for the guests as well, it's great that they're not kind of guessing, going, I wonder, is there in this cake?
Yeah.
Like, can I eat this kind of thing? So at least they can go over and be like, oh, that's for me.
You see, as a celiac, I can empathise. So
okay, that's fair enough.
I know what it's like. It's like, oh, I want to eat that, but I can't.
Yeah.
You could talk for hours on cakes, hours and hours, right? So we're going to come back to cake in a second and kind of do a crash course for people and kind of like really kind of like
quick fire questions.
So very serious.
I'm warning you, Laura. Like, this is going to be quick, okay? Right? This is not a kind of restart the conversation 6 times.
Buzz around.
But I want to give you a shout out because you're mentioning that you're a soprano, and I was googling sopranos. What's a soprano in the choir? And I was like, wow. So you were in the Munster choir and kind of used to be a singer, but you at some point, similar to Laura, you kind of had to make a choice. It's weddings or this.
And it's really, sometimes it makes me a little sad.
Do you miss it?
I do. Yeah, because I've been singing since I was a child. So I was in the National Children's Choir. Wow. I was in the choir in school, and I was a soloist in school. And then obviously grown up life comes along. Yeah. And then I decided I'd join the Munster Rugby Choir because I love rugby, and Munster Rugby were looking for a choir. I love singing.
And rugby's great, so
brilliant. I love singing, great stuff. And we got to perform with like Cara O'Sullivan, and she actually came to our rehearsals a few times as well to give us pointers and everything, which is amazing. And the Celtic Tenors in the Opera House and on the Late Late Show, and we were in Prague and the Irish Embassy and everything. Brilliant. So it was brilliant, as well as all of the, don't get me wrong, as well as all of the matches.
I happen to get tickets too.
Those matches, like the first match we ever performed at was the All Blacks and Munster game.
Wow. Oh my God, that's amazing.
And, oh my God, it was insane that night. And it was brilliant. It was really, really good. It's something I really miss.
So here you go. Here's the thing though, Tara, right? Do you know the way that people get extra entertainment at weddings?
Oh yeah.
You could be the singing cake maker.
Oh.
Funny
Oh, go on. You're going to tell me you're going to do that.
But it's like the lads come in as chefs or guards or whatever. You could come in, you could genuinely be the baker.
I'm here anyway, so I'm just going to come in and entertain.
I'm cleaning up my iPhone because my iPhone's like, your storage is nearly full. And I was like going through the videos, you know, of different cake setups and stuff like that. And there's actually one of me singing Whitney Houston while I'm like taking the video of the cake, but I'm trying to like keep it down. But all I want to do is just like belt it out, but I can't.
This is social media like gold. You need to just go in.
I was like, when I put
set up a phone, and when you're putting the finishing touches to the cake, just belt out a song, and then you can send it to the couple as a gift.
You're on your own in the room for a while, and then they've got music playing, and they're like,
I'd be like, from now on, I'd be like, I can smell and hear Tara.
She's somewhere. I'm here.
She's somewhere. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Oh, it's really brilliant. I know it is. Like I love singing. Like I really do. Like my kids are.
It's so hard though to find time to do everything, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so difficult, and it was such a hard choice to make. But like, you can't commit the time to rehearsals. You can't commit the time, like in the case of the Munster Fair, you can't commit the time to match days. Yeah. I know I used to be up in Thomond Park almost every weekend. You know, and you just can't do it, like, because. You know.
Yeah, I had horses and used to show jump and everything, and it was kind of a case of I had to sell them all. Off they go. Sell the babies, but they're fine.
Choose one or the other.
Wait, with weddings though, it's 7 days a week.
It is 7 days a week. It's like it's not.
Bar that week you put in, like you plan 2 years. In 2 years' time, Benny, we're going to take a week off.
I said to him the other day, but what holidays do you want to take next year? He was like, what? I was like, I have to start doing this.
We've had to start doing it for 2 years out.
Particularly with the kids.
Yeah,
don't forget,
big birthdays.
Stop. My daughter's putting the guilt trip on me at the moment. She's like, can you make these for me? The cupcakes like that she wants. And I was like,
if I can find the time.
I can't. I have a wedding that week, you know. They get all the leftovers. They're absolutely fine.
I literally, I have no sympathy at all. I'm the exact same as you. I'm like, Amy, you'd be lucky if you get a birthday.
They get to eat gluten. They're absolutely fine. They get half chocolate.
I'm sure now they're home licking spoons and bowls all day long.
They do. Like they're like my little cleaners. I'm like, do you want to? They come in and they're at the door waiting. Is there any cake batter we can eat? Just
stop.
So it's like they love when there's Guinness cake especially.
Okay, because they're fond of the Guinness cake.
It is really good. Okay. But it's just. Yeah, that's
life. Sometimes you have to make choices. And sure, like you never know. You might get back to it at some stage.
Yeah.
At some stage down the line. You never know. Life can have loads of things in store.
Maybe another few years. Yeah. When the voices.
Go on. So what was
ready for the big finish?
Go for the finish.
Because there's so many different types of cakes. Even I, who love cakes, don't know what the names of the different cakes are. So like there's like naked cakes, and there's like the chocolate shell cake on the outside, and then there's icing, and there's like a hint of the cake, and then there's icing with it's totally covered.
Loves cakes.
And then there's so many different.
Many, I think you were missing your part.
He needs them all, Tara. Nobody would get the cake.
Wouldn't be good at selling them.
No.
But if someone's starting out and kind of like if you were to shout out the different kind of names of the types of cakes and what they are roughly, can you give them kind of a high level overview of kind of different options and kind of what are people up to?
It's like the main kind of ones. So the naked cakes, which are they're just the sponges with the filling in between. Okay. You can see all.
Is that like that? That's not yours now.
But that's
semi-naked.
That's semi-naked. Okay.
So the naked cakes, I haven't done one in I'd say about I don't know how many years.
Oh, you can actually see the sponge. I know what you mean.
Sponge,
you can see the filling. Yeah.
Sometimes they're fruity, kind of more kind of the.
And you can see fruits and all that kind of stuff. I haven't done one of them in forever.
Okay.
They're kind of gone by the wayside now. Semi-naked is still one of people's favourites. Oh, look at Trina and Brett.
Yeah. And actually that cake was gorgeous. That was in Jacob's the Mall, and the colours that were beautiful on that cake.
Yeah.
What kind of cake was that then?
That was full buttercream finish.
Full buttercream.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that had all the textured colours to match the flowers and all that kind of stuff. So then this one here would be semi-naked, where you can just kind of see the sponges. Okay. That is still ridiculously popular.
Okay. Yeah, we see probably that the most, to be honest. Yeah.
And like what I'd always try to do with that, because it's so popular, like try and arrange flowers differently.
Okay.
Just try and use colours in the flowers and stuff like that, just to make it a little bit different. Which is actually why Katrina and Brian's was so great, because their flowers were so different.
Flowers are unreal,
amazing.
The reds and the oranges were just like
from chapter 2. Oh my god, the flowers were amazing. And then you've got your full buttercream finish, which gives you more scope for design and stuff like that in terms of including like colour and things like that.
Okay.
So you can add textures, you can have wrap finish, you can have contour finish, so you know that one with all the ridges that you see all of them.
Okay, yeah.
And then there's the wrap one, which I did a number of years ago, and then everyone kind of wants it now. So it's kind of like Meghan Harry's one,
Yeah.
And then you've got.
So it's funny with the royal cakes, though, isn't it? It's like someone does a royal cake, they put up an Instagram page, and then it's like you see versions of it throughout the next 2 years.
Hang on there now.
It's like my brain still hasn't died out yet.
Yeah.
But like and you've got like with the buttercream then as well. You can use you can have your smart, your nice clean finish. You can have your textured finish. You can have your deckled edge. You can have loads of different ways. You can have the marble finish, which was completely different as well, which again is amazing to use and has impact. And please, people, use colour.
That probably brings to mind whereby...
and there's a song coming.
Very rare. I saw some of the cakes were square base, and you just don't normally see it, or I don't see it very frequently, but it stood out, the square base, and then there was colour in the base, say, and then the top might be a bit more plain.
Yeah, like the square, like with the square, like you can use it for in the full buttercream finish as well.
Okay.
But fondant finish is the one then where that would be the most expensive because it has the most scope for design. You can do so much with it.
Okay.
Like you can use wafer paper with it. You can use wafer paper flowers. You can do sugar flowers. You can have sugar work. You can have sugar paste. You can There's like a million things you can do with the fondant. And again, use colour. But again, if you're using something if you want an all white cake, I would suggest using some kind of texture on it. So if you're using fondant, use like the ruffles and things like that.
So it actually stands out, is that?
You can see there's like a different variation of it, or like one I did for Kilshane House a number of months ago was all white. They had a square bottom tier. The square tiers take way more time as well. Than round tiers. And that had all like kind of a contemporary feel, which was really cool. And then I had
like almost like a sculpture kind of look to it.
And then there was wafer paper fans and wafer paper details.
I think I saw pictures of that actually. Yeah.
So it was really cool when you're doing that, and that's when I love doing. If someone is going for all white, goes for something like cool. And kind of different and stuff like that. But yeah, it's the fondant would be the most expensive one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if when you go with I'm looking for something simple. You need to really look at what you're looking at, because it's and I'll go back to people and I say, well, this takes this much time. Or like if you want hand painting, like I did a Mexican cake a few years ago, and that
a Mexican cake.
So I hand painted the detail of the couple's stationery onto the cake as well, and that took 18 and a half hours.
Wow.
Okay. And then it just gets
on its own. Just painting that. I went through, I don't know how many, I'd what's the Supernatural on in the background, I don't know how many episodes.
White noise. Yeah.
And I was just like, I was like, all right, he's alive again. I'm just still it's like, you just kind of have to get in the zone and keep working. But like, it's all that kind of stuff that needs.
It's a really good point though, because I think a lot of people think when they think so they think cost, they think the size of the cake. So they think the bigger the cake, obviously it's going to cost more, don't get me wrong. But I don't think everyone factors in, well, I'm only getting 2 tiers and I want you to do this hand-painted fondant, and think that, and it probably it'll cost just as much as a 5 tier because of the hours that are going to go in to actually create this look.
It is, it's a good point. And like when people find out that, I'm always kind of going, look, but we can do this instead. Like I'm always, I don't know, maybe I bombard people with too much inspiration, like for different ideas they can go through, or if people aren't too sure and their venue is near the sea, for example, like I go, right, if you haven't a clue yet, what about this colour scheme? And again, when you book your cake, you don't have to finalise your...
Of course.
You don't have to finalise your design. You've up to 2 months before your wedding to finalise everything. So again, if it changes as the planning progresses, which it normally does, because as we were saying, they contact us 2 years ahead in advance. Then that is absolutely no problem. Like that, that happens. But it's just kind of get the creative choices.
And then a quick one on, I don't think we explicitly talked about toppers, like do's, don'ts, watch out for, or toppers that work. Any kind of hints, tips, advice, or...
cake toppers,
You're a huge fan by the
sounds of it. I like the ones that so like the mirrored gold ones, when they are used, they're lovely. Or like lovely script with the names and things like that. Toppers I'm not a fan of are the people The toppers.
Oh, is in the molds, like as in they look like the person. Yeah.
I used to create those before from sugar.
Okay.
But they just...
You don't see them very often though.
No. They take so long. Like you're looking at around 180 to 200 for those alone because of the amount of time and detail that goes into them. I can't stress how much I make them. So I've stopped doing them altogether because I think it's a bit mad.
And if
you're going to have to charge 200 over that.
If someone is coming along with their own kind of, they've bought a topper from China and it's coming over and they're going to bang it on top, any do's or don'ts or watch out for us.
I will take my photos without the topper.
And you can do what you like.
And then I will put the topper on as I leave. Yeah, it's like I always... and if people are getting toppers, they do need to think about the size of their cake.
Okay.
So if you have, like, let's say the top tier is a 4-inch tier and you have a cake topper that's 8 inches wide, it's going to look a bit bananas. Yeah. So contact your cake person before you buy any topper to make sure that it is okay.
Do you know what I've seen as well? Like, you know, the toppers, as you said, like they can get the names inscripted and then they've got the two little stems and then they just sit down into the top of the cake. But I've been at 1 or 2 weddings, not yours, and it's been the whole cake is biscuit cake.
Oh yeah.
And then they've bought this topper that like is supposed to slide into it, kind of thing. So when I come in, it's like literally somebody has tried to shove the topper, and then there's just this gap between the top of the cake and the top where it's supposed to be, and you're kind of going, should we just take it off or what's going on here? Like, but it's just, I think it's just forward thinking in the sense of it's
and like this is why you have your cake designer needs to set up for you
exactly
because like if that was me,
you'd find a solution.
You have to make like
exactly.
You make
but they probably didn't tell the cake maker that day.
No, do you know? That's it. You could arrive, like I've arrived up and there's been cake toppers and I'm like, I didn't realise there was a cake topper.
Yes.
Yeah, so sometimes the lads are packing up a bag in the morning, they're like, green folder, cake topper, so-and-so. They bring it up there and they go, throw that topper in there, and it's like, it ain't going in.
Yeah, that's true.
Forgotten about it. Sorry.
It's
completely
Where
different.
is it?
Doesn't match your cake.
Where is it?
Why are you doing that?
Cool.
But yeah, it's just something like that people need to think about. Just talk to your cake designer before you buy any cake topper. Because the size, it might look right with your cake.
Well, this is it. You've put all this thought into the actual finish and design of the cake, and then you just throw a topper on. Like you do need to think about every aspect of it, from the flowers to the topper to where the cake table is to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if you have a monogram already on the cake and then you have another topper on the cake,
it's too much, too busy.
So
Yeah, it makes sense.
One or the other.
Yeah, one or the other. But Tara, like that's a lot of information to digest.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and digest that now and eat some cake.
But I think it's very helpful to people. Like it really is.
I genuinely, because I obviously, like we do weddings all the time, we see wedding cakes all the time, and I've spoken to so many people, but I've learned so much in this podcast. Genuinely, there's stuff that you went into there that I'm like, oh my god, like is this? I didn't even realize this was part of it.
Yeah.
But I think it's really good for people, and it's great to show as well. Like you obviously have so much insight, so much knowledge, so much creativity, and it kind of sounds like you're up for a challenge, which I love, in a sense of like, you're like, please don't just ask me to make a white cake. Let's get a bit of colour into it. Let's get a bit of like creativity. Let's make this amazing kind of thing. But like you obviously, like you can spend as much as you want in it, but you don't need to spend a fortune either. You can get creative on a budget.
I mean, I will say I'm not exactly the cheapest of people because of all the work that goes in.
But you get what you pay for.
Get what you pay for. And like it's just like, I suppose people, if they listen to the cake designer as well, and like the cake designer has to listen to their customer, to their client as well. So it's to find a good kind of a happy medium where what they love, like for argument's sake. Yeah. And I'll stop after this, I promise, Ben. Right? Like I had cake.
I've no more cake.
We've run out of film.
I suppose.
That's how you go have lunch. I'll be back anyway.
I promise. I finished up.
Bring me in some cake there, will you?
There was there was a cake a few years ago, and the groom wanted marble on the cake, and the bride was kind of like, you know, she had a certain look, like she wanted the palette buttercream flowers and all that kind of thing.
Certainly don't want a marble
logo.
Which
doesn't work with the marble logo.
And
I was like, right, okay, leave it with me. And I said, right, we can do the cake, the main cake itself, because they were getting cupcakes and things like that.
Sure.
So I said, do the main cake. And then I said, if your other half is happy, we can do cupcakes with marble fondant cake toppers, right?
Yeah.
Now, that sounds like a baby's birth party or a child's birth party, right? But
he's happy.
I said, what we can do is so that it works with the cake is that I'll hand paint them on in gold. So they'll be on white and gold. So they'll have like the Black Panther logo, all those kind of things on, right? So they were all on it in gold, right? So you'd have to do it twice.
They would match up rather than being kind of like
big right. Yeah. So or doing the half and half cake that you saw that they were there for a while, where the front foot was one and the back. You don't see it anymore. No. You might see one in a year, but it's not something you see often.
They're not something you see anymore. So the groom was absolutely delighted. So
that's
it was
nice.
Great. And then when people came up to see them, even in the venue, they were like, "Oh my God, they're Marvel, they're Marvel." You know, it was just a little.
It was subtle.
Yeah, but it was still. You still got to have Marvel, but it still worked with the whole thing. You know, so that's you just kind of have to listen. Like,
but this is
why compromise.
People.
It is indeed.
This is why people hire you though, because it's instead of just going, "Oh yeah, we'll do half and half."
Yeah.
Or, "Oh yeah, we can do this." Or I'll just get a logo and pop it on a cupcake. It's kind of like it's going beyond that, and it's getting into something that like you haven't done before, but you're like, "This is a good idea." They haven't seen before, and this is unique to them. It was
My
amazing.
son thought they were cool. He was like, "Oh mom, you're painting Black Panther in gold. Why are you doing that?" I was like, "Because I'm crazy, Alex." I am crazy.
And once I get something in my head. But Tara, thanks so much for all the information and coming in.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We actually get to meet you in person, which was lovely. Yeah.
And the pooch as well.
And the pooch.
You can't see her, but she's really done
She is sleeping through these podcasts. I'm hopefully it stays that way.
She's saving her energy for later on.
Oh, don't.